Go ahead and go to the next slide. Marcum LLP and Marcum Technology LLC have prepared these materials as part of an educational program. The information contained herein is of a general nature and is not intended to address the circumstances of any particular individual, entity, or case. While every effort has been made to offer current and accurate information, errors can occur. Furthermore, laws and regulations referred to in this program may change over time and should be interpreted only in light of particular circumstances. The information presented here should not be construed as legal, tax, accounting, or valuation advice. No one should act on such information without appropriate professional advice after a thorough examination of the particular situation. During today's program, you can submit questions to our presenters using the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom platform. They will get to as many questions as they can throughout and at the end of the webinar. We will provide a copy of the slides and a link to the recording to all attendees post-event. And if you would like to receive continuing professional education credits for CPAs for attending today's session, you will need to be active in the Zoom platform for a minimum of 50 minutes and answer 3 of the 4 polling questions that will appear on the screen at random points during the presentation. There are no right or wrong answers, but be sure to select an answer and click submit for tracking purposes. And now I'll pass it over to Buu-Linh Tran, Vice President of Financial Solutions at Marcum Technology.
Thank you, Erin, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP. My name is Buu-Linh Tran. Just a quick background, I've got 25 plus years experience working with a number of ERP solutions, including Sage Intacct and Dynamics GP. Most of my career has been focused on working with organizations that are in nonprofit, helping our clients with back office operations, automations, with systems like ERP as well as FP&A solutions. Today we have a special guests that are joining us today, our good folks from ADP. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick intro. So Adam is not joining us today, but we have Joe who is here. Joe, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'd love to, Buu-Linh, and good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Joe Bertalik. I'm the National Sales Executive overseeing our VAR and ERP channel with ADP. I've been here for just over 22 years now, and part of my role is to manage the relationship between ADP, Sage, and Marcum. So happy to be here today.
Thank you. Mandy?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mandy Connolly. I've been with ADP about 8 years. I sit in the DMV area to support Buu-Linh and the Marcum CPA side of the house, really with clients 50 to 1,000 employees on the technology side. So excited to be here and support any way I can.
Great, thank you. Michael?
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Sodano, and I'm a channel solutions consultant here at ADP. I've been here for 6 years, and my position within the organization is to showcase our technology and the different ways that it can interact with our clients and prospects. Thank you to the Marcum team for having us.
Great. So I just wanted maybe just kick it off with some objectives that we're going to be covering in this presentation. So, this is a webinar. It's a national webinar, and we have diverse folks that are joining us in this presentation. We are going to be talking about Sage Intacct Payroll. So we'll start off with some intro of who we are as Marcum as an organization, and then we're going to dive in and talk about just an overview of what is Sage Intacct, just to anchor ourselves a little bit. And then we're going to dive in and talk about specifically payroll for Sage Intacct that's powered by ADP. We're going to go and talk about what that involves. And then also with regards to ADP's relationship with Sage Intacct goes beyond just payroll. And so we wanted to just talk a little bit about what does that mean in terms of Sage Intacct's and ADP's relationship, and as well as that integration that is available because of that relationship, and what those integration means. This is a technology webinar, so we will be showing a little bit of software today, and then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A. All right, so we'll kick it off with the Marcum story, who we are. Next slide, please. So Marcum Technology and Marcum LLP, Marcum Technology is wholly owned by Marcum LLP. We are a technology arm of Marcum LLP, and Marcum is a national firm. We have offices throughout the US, as you can see here. We're the 12th largest CPA firm, actually, and we service our clients in a number of industries. As you can see down here, I'm not going to go through all these industries, but we, from a technology perspective, while my area has been focused on nonprofit, I have a lot of nonprofit experience just because I'm in the DC area, but we on the technology supports both for-profit and nonprofit. Next slide, please. So within Marcum Tech, we have 5 pillars of services. And I'm just going to quickly go through some of these offerings that we have for our clients. So cloud and infrastructure solutions, we help clients with hosting, telecom, any back office support is provided through this group here. And then we have managed technology services, is just more focused on help desk. So clients that are, or organizations that are small that may want to outsource their technology needs, we provide that type of services. The third pillar, we've got cybersecurity and digital forensic, where we help clients secure their business with pen testing. There's a number of cyber security support that we provide our clients. And then the fourth pillar is digital consulting, and that is the practice that I'm part of. And within digital consulting, there is an array of services, one of which is financial ERP and FP&A. So on the financial ERP side, Marcum supports 2 true cloud-based SaaS solutions, and they are Sage Intacct and Acumatica. We also support Dynamics, some of the Dynamics legacy systems, Dynamics GP, which used to be called Great Plains, and SL. And then we also support 2 FP&A solutions, and they are Planful and Vena. There are other areas in digital consulting, including robotics, where we have a fairly robust practice here on automation with with robotics. And then finally, we have strategic consulting, where we help clients with doing assessment, helping them determine what ERP solutions may be a best fit for companies. So next slide, please. There is a polling question. If you can just take a second just to answer your polling questions to get your CP. So now we're in Sage Intacct. Next slide, please. So I mentioned Sage Intacct as a true cloud-based solution. And what that means is, all you need is a browser to access the application. It is a SaaS solution, which means that you're not really buying the software. It is, it's a subscription base. It's the only ERP solution that is a preferred provider of the AICPA. So it's the only solution that is endorsed by the AICPA, and it is extremely popular. It is a very popular for small to mid-size organization. Sage, we've been a partner with Sage for 12 plus years and been very successful with this solution. It has a diverse mid-market third-party ISV, of one of which is ADP that we'll be talking about, but it has a lot of third-party solutions that enhances the core system. And it supports a diverse industry as well. Next slide, please. So here are some of the industries that Sage Intacct focuses in. I'm not going to go through all of this, but we have clients that are in a number of these industries and have been very successful with this solution. Next slide, please. So one of the things I just wanted to mention, as a ERP system, Sage is well known for best in class. Okay, what does that mean? It means that Sage is really focused in as an accounting system. With that, there are systems out there that does beyond the accounting system. It's also a CRM system in addition to an accounting system. But Sage's core focus is accounting, and we just provided here a list of some of the core. These are the functionality that's part of Sage Intacct. Under the advanced functionality, you can see there we just added Sage Payroll powered by ADP. Next slide, please. So this brings us to ADP. Joe?
I guess I'm up, right? Thank you, Buu-Linh.
Yes.
Greatly appreciated. So who is ADP, right? So if you're not familiar, quite simply put, ADP is one of the industry leaders in global HCM. This year, we're excited to announce we celebrated our millionth client globally. Currently in the US, we're paying 1 out of every 6 workers, and 39 million global workers paid through the ADP solutions. And we're a technology company, right? And have one of the top 5 business apps on the Apple App Store with over 2.8 billion, with a B, billion annual mobile logins. So what does all this mean, right? What it basically means, this is the reason, these are the reasons and more as to why Sage chose ADP to be the engine behind the newly released Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP, bringing the best of HCM and ERP all together in one system. Go ahead, next slide, Michael. So Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP, right? So this is a seamless, all-in-one solution provided by one vendor, right? Again, leveraging the power of ADP to drive the payroll engine. It's the perfect fit for clients that are looking for a flexible HR suite in an integrated all-in-one solution with their accounting and ERP. So single seamless billing from one vendor, integrations among multiple areas, including the general ledger, employee data, expense reimbursements, and time dimensions as well. In addition, the solution comes with a premier dedicated white glove implementation team and ongoing support with dedicated account manager. All really exciting, top of the line things. Michael, next. And here's the great news. The solution is scalable, right? So we've been talking about payroll. It is Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP, but it's so much more. Everything from hire to retire can be included in a modular solution that's scalable with your organization, right? So you get to choose which modules and which solutions make sense today for your organization and can add on as your needs change down the road. So the great news is you can't outgrow the product, right? You'll always be able to scale up for any of the solution that you may need. Next slide, Michael. And real quick, for those of you on the call today who may be an existing ADP client on our Workforce Now technology, we haven't forgotten about you either. The great news is we have an integration pre-built with the Workforce Now technology and Sage Intacct, right? Which connects those main data points integrating between the two products. And those again include general ledger push of information from payroll into the ERP, a real-time data push on employee data. So as you update employee information in payroll, it flows to the ERP as well. If you happen to be using an expense reimbursement module within Sage Intacct, there's two-way communication with payroll to automate that process as well. And then depending on how you're handling time for your organization, there's the option to be pushing that time information from Sage into the ADP payroll module or vice versa, the other way. So again, great news is automation, integration, and making it a lot easier to connect these two products. And with that, I believe we're going to turn things over to Michael to get into a little bit of a demonstration of the technology.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and we'll land on the Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP landing page. Okay. And so this is Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP. It's a single platform where we can host everything from hire to retire for our workforce. Within this platform, we can also customize employee communication and use this landing page as an employee communication tool. You can see we have welcome to the employee portal. We have some of the dashboards that are very important to that user, time and attendance. Some of our clients will also choose to include a quote of the day, employee of the month, pet of the month. So depending on your culture, we can really curve and utilize this system as a landing spot to make sure that our employees are engaged with our culture and with the mission of the organization. In addition to customizing the landing page here, we also have access to a mobile app. The same functions that are available in the portal are also available here in the mobile app. We allow employees to clock, review pay information. I can print my pay stub directly from the ADP mobile app. If I am going to a car dealership and they need proof of payment, or I'm buying a house, I have all of this at my fingertips, and I have the ability to share via email or print that information directly from the mobile application. For our practitioners out there, we also allow our employees to edit their own information, including direct deposit data or tax withholding. When an employee goes into the application and changes this information, we can also attach an approval workflow, notifying someone internally that a change has been made and asking that user to either approve or decline. If we didn't want the approval, we also have the ability to simply notify someone in the organization that the change has been made. So how are we getting folks into the system? From the Process tab, which is generally dedicated to our practitioners, I can go into my HR dashboard. This is where we house everything relating to HR and that employee. It's from here that I can make any type of job change. I can place an employee on leave, terminate an employee, or add the employee to another position internally. This is also where we can start that new hire process. Once we click on the new hire process, we are brought to a section that allows us to see all of the different templates available to us. From here, I can simply click on one of the templates and add my employee information. The employee data can also be brought in from either our internal applicant tracking system. It can also be brought in from a third-party application. We have one of the largest marketplaces in the HCM world. So if I'm using Jazz HR, Greenhouse, iSIMS, we can have the information pre-populated into the template from one of those third-party applications. It's also a good time to mention that we allow for full integration with open API directories and file-based transmissions that can feed in and out of the system, making sure that once we enter in employee information into Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP, it's also sending out to those other spaces. We're adding a new hire into the system named Frank Smith. So this user has typed the information in, we're indicating the day of hire, and all of the additional information that we're collecting from that employee as they're being onboarded. Once I submit this information, we can see that Frank Smith has been successfully added to Sage Intacct Payroll. From here, I can log into Sage Financials, select employees, and do a search for that employee directly within Sage Intacct Financials, and I'm able to see that employee is populated here. A good note here too is that the employee ID in Sage Intacct Financials is the associate ID on the payroll platform. And that's the syncing mechanism between the two systems. And so if I change a department or I change the employee's class in Sage Intacct Payroll, it's feeding that information instantaneously to Sage Intacct Financials. It's also useful to note that if I am doing a termination or a change, new hire information, these are all the triggers for an employee change to show up in Sage Intacct Financials. Now, once we've hired that new employee into the system, we can generate an onboarding package. And this is something that we can send out before the employee even walks in the door. And so what we see on the screen here is a welcome message from my specific manager, letting me know that they're excited for my first day. This messaging can be customized and can tell the employee a little bit of information about the organization that they're going to start working at. We also include additional cultural aspects of onboarding, like the ability to embed a video. From here, the employee can see a YouTube or Vimeo link that's showing an embedded video that's discussing either our culture internally, maybe introducing them to some of our leaders, or talking about what we do as an organization. This is a really great place to highlight some of the things that we're doing within our community or any cultural aspects that we want that employee to be aware of. SHRM, an authority on HR, states that if we can align the employee to the mission and vision of the organization during onboarding, we're 70% more likely to see that employee stay with us beyond 3 years. And so when we have this organized onboarding and we're captivating those employees and getting them into the organization at the same time, this really goes a long way for our retention and can help us reduce that turnover. Additionally, we are showing the employee who they're working with. I can see my specific manager, as well as the team members that I will be working with. We also can include an optional third tile here that shows the employee their mentor or someone that we're aligning the employee to internally. This is also something where we can include an email address or contact information internally within the tool so that the employee has the ability to reach out, again, even before walking in the door. Having that level of familiarity with the organization, even before coming in, makes our first day jitters a little bit more calmed.
So we have our second
We have a polling
question. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Buu-Linh. Do you have a general ledger interface set up with payroll? This is a yes or no poll, so we'll take some time to answer that.
And we actually want to see the results of this question. So if you can just take a few seconds and just respond, we'd be interested in seeing how many of you actually have that integration already in place to integrate your payroll with your general ledger.
All right, we'll give a few more seconds and then I'll close the poll and share the results.
Great.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and I'll show the results.
Oh, not bad. Actually, I think it's even better than I thought. That's great. So we just need to follow up with those who don't have that integration, right?
Yes. That's excellent.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Buu-Linh. And now the additional information that we need to collect from an employee can also be entered here in the onboarding experience. We can confirm information that we have on file or ask the employee to update information, even including a photo, so that our other employees can see, what that employee looks like, and when they look them up in the employee directory, they know that they have the correct person. Now, our HR payroll favorite is our paperwork section here, allowing users to complete things like the Form I-9. And all of this is using a wizard to walk the employee through step by step. We break the I-9 form down into bite-sized pieces so that the employee is just entering personal information, moving on to Social Security, work authorization. At the end of the form, the employee provides an e-signature, and then we are notified on the employee's first day to collect the information needed to complete Section 2 of the I-9 form. Sage Intacct Payroll also partners with E-Verify, so we can do e-verification directly through the form on Section 2 or Section 3 if the employee is a rehire. That is also an option that can be turned off for those that do not use E-Verify. The same is true of tax withholding. Walking the employee through these forms, we also populate if there is a reciprocity agreement between two states. So if we have a situation where an employee lives in and works in across state lines, we're able to calculate that and make sure that you as an organization are compliant. Company policies, direct deposit information, we can have an employee enter in their emergency contacts, upload different documentation, or even fill out forms that we have as an organization. From there, we can also show the employee about us, how we got to where we are. Also introduce them to the area that they are working in. And this is populated by Google, so I'm able to plan my commute, whether I'm taking my own vehicle or public transportation, walking, biking. I can also see what's in the area. I can see there's a Dunkin' nearby, my reports to location, so I know where I'm grabbing that cup of coffee on my first day. Now, as the information is being entered by the employee, we have access to all of this data within Sage Intacct Payroll. Under the profile, I'm able to see that we have Addie Adams. I can then see all of her personal information, employment data, talent information, and statutory compliance information. We also heard from clients that reporting in HR systems is usually very clunky and hard to access. And so we've patented what we call the Field Grabber tool. And this tool allows us, once we're familiar with the system, to take information from that very piece of the technology and add it into a report. So if I need an employee's last name, first name, social security number, date of birth and age for a birthday report that I'm running, I simply go to the part of the system where I know those fields exist, launch the Field Grabber, and add them into a report. This also allows us to go into different pieces of the technology. I can enter into the pay profile and still continue to pull in information into this report. Perhaps we need the employee's position ID. We can also add deduction information. And so as we're collecting and adding these different data points, the system is also telling us, hey, you've pulled a similar report in the past. Would you like to continue with that? If not, I can then create or preview my report. Now, going back to the personal profile, I want to highlight some additional things that we can host here. Under the employment profile, this is where we have everything relating to the employee's pay and employment within the organization. We also, if we have different allocations for employees, maybe reporting to 3 different departments or charging time between different grants or projects, we can set up automatic allocations in the corporate groups here, or we can have the employee enter this information in time and attendance. Additionally, under the talent profile, we're hosting anything, any data point that we need to track from an HR standpoint, including custom fields that you may need to enter. We can see the bell icon that shows us that an employee has a license and certification that expires in 2024. When I click on that bell icon, it's telling me about the notification that we have set up for this specific certification. And so at this level, we are seeing that the practitioners will be reminded, the employee's manager, as well as the employee themselves. And we can set this notification reminder to say, at 30 days or maybe at 6 months, we need something to go out to let us know, we need to renew this license or certification. Again, you can see that common theme of making sure that we're keeping compliant internally as an organization. Additional items that we can host within HR the ability for our employees to see their total reward statements. So a lot of the times as employees, we really only think about our base earnings, but there are also so many other things that go into an employee's pay. Typically, we hear from clients that they're taking, using Excel to put these together, and it's a very time-consuming process. And so within Sage Intacct Payroll, we're able to automate this total rewards or reward statement by identifying the information flowing through payroll and automatically adding those earnings and deduction codes directly to the earnings statement. In this case, the employee can see not only what they pay for benefits, but also what the employer is paying. The same thing can be said of 401k. We can add PTO information here as well, just giving our employees a full understanding of what's included in their package. If we have clients that are also tracking company property, we allow for users to enter in that asset information, including vehicles or any type of equipment that we're offering to employees. This will also show up when we terminate an employee, letting us know, hey, we need to collect this from the employee as they leave. Generally, hand in hand with our HR is the benefits offering. And so within our system, we allow users at the employee level to enroll in benefits directly from the portal here. This same functionality is also available in the mobile app. I can manage my enrollment, report a life event change dependents and beneficiaries, all from one spot. Now, within the system, we can set up different plans. So if we offer multiple different plans, we can host all of those internally within the system. There is no need to switch your broker. We also partner with national brokers around the country, as well as smaller brokerage services. Once the user logs in, I can see a quick welcome message letting me know about anything that has changed or any new offerings. We're then allowing that user to enter any type of dependent or beneficiary information before they're brought to surveys. This is an optional step. Anything that could have an impact to premium, like tobacco utilization, we would want to ask those employees about, just so that we can get a firm understanding of how much they will be charged for premium as they go through that benefit selection. We've also partnered with NAYA for decision support embedded directly within the tool. And so once the user agrees to share information with NAYA, we can then pull data in from the HR system. So I can see my salary pre-populated. I have the ability to add things like bonus, commission, or my spouse's salary. I can enter my current plan information. So my member ID, group ID, and current provider, and see what my deductible is and how much I've spent so far. Typically, as employees, we estimate that we spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000 less than we actually do on benefits. And so calling this out to the employee is telling them, hey, last year you may have, shorted yourself on contributing to that HSA. I want to plan for that this year. And so we're calling that out on the screen, making sure that the employee can plan for the future. We're also notifying the employee about different terms that are being used on the page. I can click on these links and learn a little bit more about what an individual deductible is or what a family deductible is. For our practitioners out there, we are seeing about an 80% reduction in questions that are being asked during open enrollment because we're educating the employee about the enrollment as they're going through the process. So we're getting a lot of great client feedback on what that's looking like from an administrator standpoint. We're asking, how many primary care visits did I have last year? We're checking for that in-network provider. I may see a plan that's a little bit less expensive, but if my primary care provider is not part of that plan, it could cost me more in the long run. How do I travel to and from work? This individual indicated bike. And so we know the employee's healthy, they're biking to and from work, they're also statistically more likely to be admitted to a hospital. And so the tool is letting that employee know, hey, here's some statistics, and offering them a recommendation of signing up with that accident insurance so that I'm better protected as an employee. We're also asking the employee about health information as well as finances before providing them the final recommendation. Now, as a practitioner, I have the ability to follow up with all of this in my benefits dashboard. And so as my employees are going through that open enrollment process, I can see how many employees have been started, how many are completed, and I can also submit a nudge through the system, which is reminding the employee through push notification and email that they still have to go through that open enrollment process. In addition to that, we also offer benefit invoicing. So making sure that we're not getting charged extra from our carriers. Typically, carriers admit to a 3 to 7% error rate when they're charging us for medical premium. And so I can go in carrier by carrier and pull what I'm seeing from the Sage Intacct Payroll system. It should match exactly what I'm seeing on that payroll, on that premium guide, because we are taking that enrollment information and sending it directly to the carriers using a carrier connection. We're also taking that premium data and passing it directly into payroll for the employee to be charged. So this truly is our system of record for benefits. I'd like to mention here too, and you may have seen it on a few other screens, that we offer the ability for live in-product support. So if I had a question, I could click on this chat box, and it's going to load up a chat box where I can talk to a live representative and someone familiar with the area that I'm on. So we're in benefits right now. It's going to direct me to a benefits specialist, and I can ask my questions without having to get on the phone with someone. I do want to mention that we also offer ACA compliance. And so directly within the tool, if we are the administrator of the benefit offering, again, we do not need to be the broker, just the plan setup is embedded within the system. We can file the 1094, 1095Cs on your behalf for ACA filing. If you have a part-time workforce, we'll also notify you if an employee has gone from part-time to full-time. I'll also tell you if an employee is nearing that area. And so again, making sure that you're compliant by providing you notifications along the way. One other thing I wanted to mention is that both for benefits and HR, we can host an unlimited amount of document storage within the system. And so if we have any documents relating to the employee, like evidence of insurability for benefits or a compensation notice for HR, job description sign-off, we can host an unlimited amount of documents. We do have a 15 megabyte document limitation per document, and we allow 21 different file types here. Oftentimes we're asked by clients, what would this look like if I didn't want an employee or even their manager to have access to a doctor's note? We can turn on different folders that allow us to hide information internally. So confidential medical, we can say maybe 1 or 2 individuals within the organization can have access to this folder. So getting rid of those filing cabinets, bringing us into the digital age. And because all of this is web enabled, if I can't get into the office for whatever reason, a weather event, I'm able to pull up this information wherever I am. From there, we are able to host time and attendance directly within the system. And so we offer a myriad of different clocking options internally. We have web timesheets, the ability to clock in mobile, the ability for us to use a physical clock, whether a biometric or a badge scanner, or even our own equipment using an iPad or Android device. And lastly, our telephone clocking. Typically, we see this in call centers or janitorial services where I dial a 1-800 number, enter my ID, and then push 1 to clock. In all of these options, we do have the ability to charge labor to specific jobs or projects. We can further that down to a task, a work order, or even your own naming conventions on the different ways that you splice data, you splice labor. No matter where that information is coming from, or a combination of all of those different clocking methods, it's all flowing into the same space. And so as a manager, I can log into my portal and I can see my team dashboard. This is showing me any insights for my team. I have an employee that's punching out late more than the rest of the team here. And so if this is causing the organization money or additional labor spend, I want to make sure that I'm having a conversation with this employee. I can also see any type of exceptions. We have missed punches, maybe shifts to review, and we can set the parameters of this depending on the specific manager. So 30 minutes outside of a shift, we're notifying that Phil Parker here on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and a few times throughout the week did work outside of that shift that he was scheduled for. And so the manager can click on notes and understand, why that may have happened, or even through the system, being able to dial or text that employee. In addition to taking punch data, we also allow users to log into the portal or the mobile app to see their balances for time off. We can host multiple different time off policies within the system. And so if a user is planning a vacation at the end of July, they want to take their family to Disney, I can then type in that specific date and it's updating all of my accruals. And so again, less knocks on the door of the administration. I can simply go into the tool and pull this information on my own. Once I request that time off, it sends a notification to my manager who can approve directly through the portal or through the mobile device. And that brings us to our third polling question. Are you looking to upgrade your accounting system in the next 6 to 12 months?
While we're waiting, Michael, I do have some questions. You mentioned earlier about the integration of Sage Intacct and ADP. Is the integration, and you mentioned that ADP can also calculate the labor costs, calculating for job and task. Is that integration bringing over that? I guess, can the integration bring over the labor cost entry and then also the hours as well?
Yes, so we can pull that information from Sage Intacct as well. So let's say we get a call from a client and they say, we need you to do X, Y, and Z at this work site. I can enter that information into Sage, and it's sending over to the time card immediately for the employee to go in and clock to that specific labor field, whether it's job, project, work order. And then we're passing the data then from time and attendance through into payroll. And then on the other side of that, we're sending all of the financial data back into Sage Financials with that information coded to the specific job, project, task, et cetera.
Right. So the hours get sent over, the labor costs get sent over, and it's being sent over and it's being recorded as like a journal entry. Is that it goes into the GL?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so that final time data can go over to the general ledger. We can also send the time data from the payroll system into Sage Time and Expense and vice versa. So there are a few different options, and we would just have a call with the client to determine which is the best.
Right. And then regarding the dimension integration, so you've got dimensions in Sage Intacct. Do those dimensions, does the information in those dimensions, dimension code gets integrated with Sage Intacct also, or how does that work?
They do, yeah. So as we're entering dimensions, they are being synced with the payroll system for entry.
And is the sync automatically sync overnight? Or is it manually invoked, or?
there's two different options for the syncing of dimensions. They auto push nightly automatically, or we can user push push that information.
Okay, there is a question that was someone had asked about the integration. Can we just restrict the integration to just for general ledger purposes? I guess perhaps just the payrolls entry, or do we have to? You have to turn on everything?
You do not have to turn on everything. So again, depending on the specific user and what they would like to see up, we can, just push that general ledger data. We can add the employee data. We can leave everything else off. We can just have GL. So we kind of go with what the best outcome is for the client.
Okay, that's great. And you showed a lot, on the ADP side with payroll. Is this solution available today? I mean, if we have a Sage Intacct client that wants to go forward with ADP, would they be able to get this today?
It is available today. Either for current ADP clients, we can set up the connector and move that information. And for new clients, we would get them set up on the Sage Intacct Payroll instance. Again, connecting fully with time, expense management, employee data, and general ledger data. Right.
And implementation wise, what's the time frame like? Like, how long does it generally take for the connector? And then if someone were to sign up with ADP, what is the timeline like to roll out that ADP for, Sage Intacct Payroll, basically?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. And it varies depending on the specific needs of the organization. So it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months, depending on what we're setting up. If we have clients that are in the construction industry, for instance, and have prevailing wage logic that needs to be inputted within the system, I have an employee in the same work week that could work multiple jobs and they're paid a different rate at each job. Our implementation is helping to set that up, and it could take a little bit more time. If we have a professional services organization and the employees are paid salary across the board and we're not doing any type of time tracking, that would be a faster setup. So it really does depend on the scope of the project. But I would say, 2 to 3 months is a good estimate.
Great. And, we have some clients that are on ADP, they're on Sage Intacct, but they're also using like an FP&A solutions, for budgeting. And is it possible that we can integrate, let's say, employees a dimension in Sage Intacct to bring over the salary information from, ADP to Sage Intacct employee, and then we would push that information from Sage Intacct into FP&A. Some of our FP&A solutions have a direct link on that, and I was just curious if that might be possible.
As long as the connection is there on the Sage financial side, we are sending that employee data. The rate of pay is one of those data points that we do send over on the employee data feed. And so if the other third-party provider is able to extract that data from Sage Intacct Financials, that's a viable solution. If not, again, we have fully open API architecture on the Sage Intacct Payroll side. And so the client can also create an API with our system, or odds are within our marketplace, again, that has over 400 partners, we may even have something already pre-existing.
Right. And just out of curiosity, on the Sage Intacct, on the ADP timesheet, what timesheet frequency do you support? Like weekly, bi-weekly?
All of the above: monthly, semi-monthly. We can do projected payroll, current, pay in arrears.
That's great.
Yeah, again, the 39 million employees are being paid out of this system today, and so we run a myriad of different pay rules, and again, a pretty flexible platform to make sure that we can accommodate the needs of any business or industry.
Okay.
I did want to show our payroll, and I can be quick there. Once we take that time information, we can then pull that into our payroll dashboard, we're calling out any things to do. So, if I have an employee that is showing pay data that we have terminated, that would be something that would be called out here. Or I have a new hire that doesn't have their information set up fully. Calling out, again, anything that would need our attention before processing. One addition here, if we have multiple different companies under common ownership, we can host multiple different tax IDs within the same system, allowing you to cross-report across your different entities. I can then manage my payroll. We can import time. We can pull it in from our internal time and attendance system. We also have third-party connectors with different organizations that can send the time information directly into our pay worksheet here. The pay worksheet is telling us how many hours the employee worked. We can also set up different columns. If we're paying mileage, let's say, on a payroll by payroll basis, we can add a column specific for that, or again, pull it in from Sage Intacct Financials. Each employee's file number is telling us the deduction codes that are associated and the taxation that's to be applied to the employee's pay. So we really just need to make sure that those hours are in line. And once we confirm that, we can then calculate our payroll. This is allowing us to compare two payrolls side by side to make sure there are no large variances before we then approve that payroll. So looking at this comparison, I don't see any large variances. I can then approve that payroll, at which point we are going to do the money movement. So we're going to pay that taxation. There are a lot of different tasks associated with processing payroll. When we partner with Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP, we are taking everything in gray off of that client's plate. And so the things that we need to be mindful of are getting the time entry into payroll, processing those new hires, terms and changes, and then if necessary, processing any kind of voids or adjustments. But the rest is handled by us, including the ability to send information post-payroll back into Sage Intacct. And that begins in our general ledger interface, which is a dedicated platform to movement of journal entries. I select the payroll that I would like to move. And once I click create and transmit, I receive an email in about 10 to 15 minutes letting me know that that information has been pushed successfully. And then I'm able to view those journal entries within Sage Financials, and I can see those debits, credits, and the different ways that the information was allocated.
That looks great. That could take someone a lot of times to key that in, right? Even if it's like 2 or 3 times a month.
Yes, we've heard nightmare numbers from some clients taking over a day to get this information in. So depending on the granular level that we're doing our costing, this could take quite a bit of time.
There is a question here. Someone had requested, please show admin view. I don't know. We only have a few minutes left, but is it possible maybe to do a really quick view on that?
I could. So there is another polling question here. So we will have that up on the screen. Would you like to learn more information about what was presented today? In the meantime, while that question is being answered, I do want to point out that the administrative level is this very view on the landing page. I will say that when we have employees' views, they will only have access to the first 3 tabs here. So home, resources, where I can acknowledge company policies, and the myself tab where I can edit my own information. For our folks with managers, we have the my team tab. So I can see time cards for my teams, employee information. Again, we can curb if we don't want the managers to see pay rates or address information. And managers will also have access to reporting for those teams. And then the administrator view is the opening of the following 3 tabs. So people, process, and setup, the ability to shape the look and feel of the system for others, the ability to go in and process payroll and see people, so everyone within the organization. On this end, we do not have specific, licensing per user that is on the administrative level. It's up to the organization to decide how many people will have this full administrative access.
I think we've answered this question, but there was a question about, can ADP log and track time by jobs?
Yes. We certainly can. So if I go into the individual time card here, this allows a user to track time to a specific project task. This can be done through the ADP mobile. We can support time after the fact, or we can say, I want my employee to punch and I want to use that geofence. So however we're taking or capturing that information, it can be handled within the system here.
All right, this could be our last question here. If we are already using ADP, what changes would have to be done to use Sage ADP, Sage ADP Intacct?
So we would create a sales order and statement of work for the integration, and then we can fully connect that client's instance of Workforce Now to Sage Intacct. Using those same data points, we can move time information in and out of the system. We can move employee data out of ADP into Sage Intacct, as well as that general ledger experience, the ability to transmit that data over with one push. There could be the need for a general ledger rewrite if the client is already active on the general ledger interface, but that would be handled during that implementation process.
And Michael, when you were doing the presentation, I thought I saw how you switch over between, the Sage ADP and Sage Intacct. It seemed like it was very easy to sort of move back and forth.
We do support single sign-on, so we can utilize single sign-on to access both platforms.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to thank you, Michael, for this presentation. This is wonderful. There's so much information. So, it's a lot of rich information here on Sage Payroll. And just before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. We do have two events for next month. There's actually a seminar at our DC office on March 23rd. It's how nonprofit organizations improve organizational efficiencies through ERP banking integration. So we will have the folks from Citibank join us, and it is an in-person seminars on the 23rd. And then as if folks that are on Sage Intacct know that Sage just released their R1 release with Sage Intacct 2023 R1 release. And we will be going over the what's new with the R1 release on March 22nd from 1 to 2. So, we should have those registration at our site. If you're interested, check it out. And we certainly welcome and look forward to seeing you. So I just wanted to say thank you. I know our time is up, but I wanted to thank all the folks here with ADP. Thank you so much for putting this presentation on. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining this webinar. Thank you, Eric.
Awesome. And thank you, Buu-Linh and the Marcum team. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.